G'day, welcome back, and another rant. No, not so much of a rant today. Yes, it is. Who knows? Find out. Let's wing it. Let's do it from off the cuff. I'll have to wear a different shirt. Anyway, what's happened? Well, my good friend Donald Trump, not to be mistaken for Kim Jong-un, even though they both have incredibly flattering hairstyles, Donald Trump has decided, yeah, you're going to have to register your drones again. Really? There's only one thing worse than making a bad decision. It's making it twice. And now in America, if you've got a drone or a model aircraft, remember there's no distinction, drones and model aircraft, they're both the same. Suddenly the appearance of the Phantom 4 has made it incredibly dangerous to fly your AXN or your, 1965 Goldberg Super or whatever it is that you happen to fly. Yes, that's right. These guys, they know nothing. So again, they are saying, you've got to register your drone because look what happened last time. When we had drones registered, there were no problems. Nobody flew into the Space Needle in Seattle and nobody flew over sports crowds because drones were registered. Oh, man. Anyway, bureaucrats, what can you do? I'm sorry, guys, in the USA, I can't help you. I've done everything I can by trying to educate and inform and speak hopefully to the people that make these rules, but nobody's listening in America anyway. But meanwhile, back in New Zealand, things are a bit different. Now, our local council, I think most of you know, the local council here, no clues what they're doing, and that includes the governance and the executive. But we've just had a review of the bylaws in this town, and I, amongst other people, made a submission saying that, let people fly their drones in the park. I mean, I've been flying drones in the park for the last 6 months, ever since the local council's kind of made a bit of a cock up and said, oh, there are no rules stopping people flying drones, so I went out and flew, as did other people. And believe it or not, in the past 6 months, even though it's been a free-for-all in the parks with drones, there's been no complaints. Nobody's been killed, nobody's been injured, the sky didn't fall, the parks are not littered with 747s and helicopters that have been knocked from the skies by drones, no. So it was quite fortuitous that the last 6 months basically was a proving ground. The council, much to their credit, finally have come to the recognition that, gosh, these drones are not as dangerous as we've been led to believe by the media. So with my lobbying and the help of other people in the town, we've finally got the council to agree to let us fly our drones in the park. Woo! So that's fantastic. So if you're coming to Tokoroa this summer, and I hope some of you are, because every year about 100 people do, just to see the airfield and Microsoft Hill and the bench. If you're coming, well, hey, bring a drone. You'll be able to fly in the park. Brilliant. Shielded operation only. Because we've got a helipad and an airport, you won't be able to fly higher than the tallest tree, but that's not really such a restriction because most of the stuff you want to see is closer to the ground, isn't it? No point just looking down from 1,000 feet. Everybody looks like ants. Trust me. So there you go. Wonderful news on the local front. Not so good for the Americans. And of course, Australia, they've got good drone rules, but they're getting pushed, they're getting prodded by the pilots' unions and things. Oh, you've got to register. We should have registration. So I wonder what will happen there. Will CASA stand firm and say, no, we're quite happy, things are working fine? Or will the pilots' union, who are clamouring for survival, convince CASA to introduce registration and a whole lot of unnecessary crap? I don't know. Right, that's enough of drones. Patreon. Now, I did a video for my Patreon supporters last week, I think it was, because Patreon, oh, man, you've got to wonder, how do people manage to get companies to be so successful when they're so stupid? And really, Patreon were very stupid. They decided, we're going to, this is what they said, we're going to make life better for both the creators and the patrons because we're going to introduce a new method of billing. But everybody saw through that. It was really a way to hike the prices, hike the cut that Patreon gets by disguising it as something else. It was better for everyone. But we're not stupid. Creators are not stupid. The patrons are not stupid. Everybody said, what are you doing? We don't want this. Don't do this. You tell us it's good for us, but we're telling you it's not. And I did a video telling my patrons, I'm really sorry, I had no control over this. Patreon are hiking the charges, and it was so stupid. If someone was pledging me $1, previously they'd pay $1. Under the new scheme, which was supposed to be better for everybody, they had to pay $1.38. What? So 38 cents of that pledge was consumed by Patreon and the costs and so forth. Previously, it didn't cost 38 cents to make a $1 pledge. So how could it be that Patreon wasn't putting up their charges, as this was a sort of a clever move, a backdoor move to put the prices up? No. So anyway, the people have spoken. I did a video, lots of other people did videos, everybody complained, and Patreon have said, oh, we're really sorry we messed up, we're not going to do that. We honestly don't, because people were leaving Patreon, patrons were abandoning the platform, saying it's too expensive, we can't afford, because a lot of people out there are really generous with their money, and given the way that YouTube's gone, you know, it's a complete disaster now because videos are being demonetized sort of on a whim. In some channels, their revenues, including mine, from advertising, the revenues have tanked. They really have. And advertisers are pulling out. I think I've discussed this before, but basically the adpocalypse meant that YouTube creators are getting diddly squat from YouTube, from Google. So Patreon was a great way of supporting the channels that deserved your support. And I was fortunate enough to have people supporting, you know, this channel and RC Model Reviews through my Patreon page. And that's great because it made up for some of the loss through the YouTube revenues. However, the problem was, of course, that Patreon grew too big and they got too big for the boots and decided to change it all. So some of these people who are promoting or supporting the sites, they might have said, oh, I'm going to spend $50 a month supporting the channels that I like. So they made $51 pledges, which is great because it meant there were 50 channels getting $1 from somebody every month to keep them going. Brilliant. The problem is that these people have budgeted $50. Well, under the new charges, they would have to pay something like $69, an extra $19 for nothing. So yeah, anyway, done. It's gone. Patreon have seen the error of their ways, probably because they realise they're going to lose a snotload of money if they didn't go redact this particular change they'd proposed. And probably they've learnt the value of consulting with your market. Don't think you know better than the people who are using your product. Ask the people who are using your product before you make changes. Let's face it, Google and YouTube never do that. We wake up one morning and suddenly YouTube looks different and you can't do this anymore and they've added this feature that nobody wants. But they never ask anybody. It's like they dump it on you, and that's one of the reasons that sometimes I really despise YouTube. I think they're terrible, horrible. You know, if I could find another platform that also offered ad revenues to the same degree and had the same audience, I'd jump in a trice. And I think a lot of other content creators would too, but we're stuck with YouTube. Unfortunately, Patreon is the backup, and now that Patreon have come to their senses, I'm hoping those people who may have withdrawn their pledges or edited their pledges down, I hope they'll go back and restore them because, you know, the Patreon supporters really are now the backbone of this channel and my RC Model Reviews channel. So, why haven't I been doing videos recently? Well, it's been down to the work I've had to do with this local council and the bylaws. I've spent countless hours rallying other people to make submissions, presenting or organising my own submission and making it, researching it, because the one thing I do when I make a submission is I back it up with facts and evidence. I don't just wander in and say, oh, let us fly our drones in the parks. No, I had a whole lot of facts, figures, evidence, information that I could cite, references, so it becomes hard to sort of discount a submission that is so chock full of real information, not hysteria and hype. So yeah, and it worked. It worked. So now the council's intention is to let people fly their drones in the parks over Christmas and change their bylaws so that it doesn't criminalise that activity. Yay! So one small victory in a battle against bureaucrats and hypocrisy and hype. So hey, every win starts with a tiny advantage, and I think at least we've managed to get that now. Brilliant. So that's about it. Now, it's Christmas coming up soon. This isn't my Christmas video, but I will be doing a Christmas video. I'll try and find Barry. I mean, he's bought himself new cars and he's got a boat, and he's like, you know, he's not often seen at the airfield, unfortunately. His planes are still out here, but we don't see him very often. I'm trying to convince him to come and do some flying, but he's too busy driving around, you know, boy racer, dropping wheelies and all that sort of stuff, doing drifting and that sort of thing. You know what these young people are like? They're terrible. Yeah, anyway, so I'll try and get Barry in. I might rope Ron in as well. We'll have a bit of a Christmas festive video. And on my RC Model Reviews channel, I'm going to do a best of the year. The stuff that I've looked at that I think is really good. And I'm also going to do worst of the year, the stuff that's crap. And trust me, there's been plenty of crap this year. So that's about it. I don't know, it's blowing a gale at the moment. I've got some planes here to test, and as soon as I get stuff ready to fly, the wind comes, and anyway, that's for another. That's another ranty moan. I'll moan about the weather and global warming later. Yeah, I don't want to put too many rants in one video. But there you go. That's the situation at the moment. And now I'm out here today to do. I've got a new quad to review. I've got the Joshua Bardwell sent me his eAISHEEN 100 goggles, which I'm going to take a look at because I want to see how that antenna diversity works. And he seemed to have problems with his. They didn't seem to work very well. I might take a look inside, might have a look and see if they were faulty, or whether it's just a bad design. And I haven't looked at the eAISHEEN goggles yet, and a lot of people have panned them. I must admit, I did have a quick look, and I was shocked at how small the image was. I'm expecting the new Sky Zones to arrive shortly. They've said they're going to send me some Sky Zones, which seem to be pretty kick-ass. One interesting thing with the Sky Zones, they seem to have gone from 16.9 back to 4.3. I don't know why. We'll find out when I look at them, perhaps. Anyway, there you go. So stay tuned. There's model jets at the airfield this weekend, so there'll be some jet footage up next week on this channel. And yeah, I'm going to try and get as much stuff up and done before Christmas, so there'll be a steady stream right through Christmas, New Year of videos, so that if you're stuck inside in the snow and the cold and the wind in the Northern Hemisphere, you'll be able to watch us having fun here in the balmy, calm summer days of the Southern Hemisphere. And as I say, if you're coming to New Zealand, let me know, and you're welcome to come and have a tour of the facility and maybe even a fly. If you don't bring a plane, I've probably got one around here somewhere. If you fly quads, I've probably got one around here somewhere. You can have a bit of a fly too, and share the experience that we have here. Especially on the weekends, there should be lots of people here to fly with. There you go. I've rambled. This wasn't a rant, it was no good. But thanks for watching. Thanks for your support. See you again soon. Bye for now.